Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening. This is the info session portion of our monthly meeting. Tonight we have Councilmember Nadeau, and we are also, she will be swearing in our new commissioner representing 1B06. So with that, I will let her take it away.
Okay, so you're going to repeat after me. I, Miguel Trindade de Ramo,
I, Miguel Trindade de Ramo,
having been duly elected as a commissioner
of
the Advisory Neighborhood Commissions
of the
of the District of Columbia,
do solemnly swear that
I, Miguel Trindade de Ramo,
Miguel Trindade de Ramo
will support and defend the Constitution of the United States,
will support and defend the Constitution of the United States,
that I will perform such duties as may be assigned to me as member of said commissions to the best of my ability without fear or favor,
to the best of my ability without fear or favor,
that I will exercise my best judgment and will consider each matter before me from the viewpoint of the best interest of the District of Columbia as a whole, and that I will faithfully discharge said duties.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Commissioner. So now we have Councilmember Nadeau. As a quick housekeeping note, we must be out of the space by 8 p.m. So if there are any community questions or commissioner questions, please raise your hands and make it quick. Thank you.
Thanks very much. I will also try to make it quick, said every politician ever. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. I'm Brianne Nadeau. I'm the Ward 1 council member. And thank you, Madam Chair, for adding me to your busy agenda. I try to come to the ANC meetings every few months. I aim for quarterly. And as you know, my staff is here every month. But I have been receiving more calls lately, concerns about public safety in the U Street area. So I did want to make sure that I could come here and talk about that in addition to some other initiatives we're working on. Our next Brianne on Your Block community office hours are coming up November 13th at Tabla on Georgia Avenue. And I encourage folks who want some one-on-one time to come out and meet with me. If anyone has any questions tonight that we don't have time for, feel free to follow up with me later or with my Chief of Staff, Nicole, who's here as well. So I want to start with some updates on public safety issues in the neighborhood. The budget that kicked in October 1st brings $4.5 million in public safety investments to Ward 1. That includes funds to replicate the outreach we're doing on the Columbia Heights Plaza to help get people access to sobering services and other supports. And those resources are going to be coming down here to U Street. They're going to be coming down to Lower Georgia Avenue. And then we also have a special new program coming to 7th and T to provide behavioral health and substance use disorder supports. Continuing as well to work with MPD to improve public safety in the neighborhood, including new investments in violence prevention services with a floating team that will serve 14th and V. We're also working with the Nightlife Task Force to bring all of the agencies together to address specific nightlife public safety needs of U Street area. The mayor has proposed a crime bill called Addressing Crime Trends Now. We're reading through it. We're glad to see her focus on that retail theft. I do think it's an issue, but we're probably going to take a slightly different tack. I have some ideas for a bill that would go after the online resale and the platforms like Facebook Marketplace that allow people to profit from that retail theft. There are several public safety bills that deserve the council's attention right now, including Councilmember Robert White's Whole of Government Response to Crime Act that I co-sponsored, my bill to increase recruitment to the police department's cadet program, and the permanent version of Councilmember Pinto's public safety bill, which I voted to support in July. We also have to use tools we already have. So more use of the mobile cameras and crime hotspots, which I'm working on with our new chief, redistribution of MPD resources to areas with the most violent crime, and reaccreditation of the crime lab. Last month, I met with the director there on site, and they were able to tell me, breaking news, that they had just applied for reaccreditation for 2 of their units, which will help significantly in the prosecution of crime. And we need to see improvement on the closure rate of our homicides. Today, we buried a former staffer of mine who died from gun violence. And it was a reminder close to home that too many of these cases are still unsolved. And that means that shooters are still out on the street. We also need to focus on fixing the failing 911 call center, because we can't prevent and respond to crime if dispatch can't successfully send first responders to the scene. And on top of that, the crime lab isn't processing evidence and the U.S. attorney isn't prosecuting these crimes. So this is a pretty bad combination. And the focus on new legislation may be helpful, but I really want to see us double down on addressing things through the resources that we have right now as well. And I'm looking forward to working with the mayor and council colleagues on crafting legislation to make our public safety ecosystem more effective. Okay, so our new chief is coming to Ward 1 November 28th. We'll be hosting her at the Festival Center on Columbia Road from 6:30 to 8. This is a town hall for Ward 1 residents. Those who are interested, I hope you'll join us. We'll be sending out more info in advance on how to submit questions. And it's a great new space, newly renovated space that I hope everyone will enjoy being in together while we tackle that important topic. Yesterday, I held the second half of our traffic safety and enforcement hearing, where we had 4 bills heard jointly by the Public Works and Operation Committee that I chair, and the Transportation and Environment Committee chaired by Councilmember Allen. The essence of the discussion around these bills is that we need to be focused on behavior, not just unpaid tickets, and enforcement can't be rooted in just who can pay. And we can't just let people pay a fine and continue to drive dangerously, or pretend that the person who hasn't paid their fines is more dangerous than the person who has. Parking enforcement, which comes under my committee, plays an important part in traffic safety. And we had a really deep discussion on that yesterday, and talked to Director Spriggs about how they prioritize parking enforcement and how they don't prioritize parking, how they don't prioritize enforcement of dangerous vehicles. And we learned about a lot of gaps in the different systems for enforcement that are leading to some of these egregious problems, where we have really reckless drivers on the road, despite the fact that we have evidence of their dangerous driving. My legislation, among the cluster of bills we considered yesterday, focuses on fake tags and expired temp tags, something really everyone complains about, and something that's hard to enforce for a variety of reasons. So my bill would give DPW and other enforcement agencies authority to immediately tow and impound cars whose owners have blatantly flouted the law by having clearly counterfeit, obscured, or long expired plates. Let's see. And it allows us to, as I was talking earlier about Facebook Marketplace, the bill also empowers DC government to proactively investigate and shut down dealers and distributors of falsified and counterfeit temporary tags, classifying that as an act of forgery. It's so easy to get these. I probably could have gotten one on my way here just to show you, like on my phone. It's so easy to get them online. Okay, and then the other thing that we've been hearing recently, held a hearing on recently, is about making trash work better. We heard from a number of commissioners. Thank you, Commissioner Lakatos, for always showing up, about how to make trash work better. And so the hearing had several bills. Councilmember Henderson's bill will make buildings with up to 8 condos eligible for city trash pickup. Councilmember Lewis George's bill would require public comment before removing public litter containers. I know if we weren't on Zoom, there'd be a round of applause for that one. And then one from DPW itself asking for permission to serve trash violation notices by mail rather than in person, which is really a technical thing. So in addition, my funding for a pilot program for communal trash containers will kick in soon. And we're going to have a pilot for 3 blocks in the district. This is aimed at blocks where trash pickup is out front and cans get in the way and they're difficult to get down to the curb. And it would place a container on the street where people could bring their trash throughout the week. And curbside composting pilot started last month. Anyone here participating in the curbside composting pilot? No. Okay. I am. It's really fun. You get to put all of your food waste in a rat-proof container and it gets picked up once a week, which means your green cans are no longer lunch for rats. And so the more we can pilot this program and expand it throughout the district, the better opportunity we'll have to address the rats and also get that waste out of landfills. Waste diversion is one of my primary objectives as chair of the Public Works and Operation Committee. So I know you have a busy schedule and I'm going to leave it there and see if there are any questions and just hope that some of you will join me November 13th at Brienne on Your Block and join us November 28th for the chat with the chief.
Thank you so much, council member. Commissioners, if you have questions, raise your hand and I will direct it to you. I think I saw Commissioner Lakatos's hand go up first and then Commissioner Kinsick.
Thank you for coming, council member, and thank you for hosting the hearing on the DPW removal of trash cans. We might pass a resolution tonight requesting some new cans be installed as well as some cans be replaced. I would appreciate maybe some focus with your office and support with DPW. All of the requests for new cans in ANC 1B were rejected by DPW with the no litter can needed response, which was very frustrating. Second comment on the mayor's new legislation. I think I would just encourage you to maybe push back a little bit on some of the transparency rollbacks that are included, especially since Maryland has a similar law. And if officers are leaving for Maryland, I don't think it's because people can FOIA their disciplinary records. Maybe it's because it's hard to work at MPD and it's easier to do it in Anne Arundel County.
Thank you for that. Be happy to work with you on that list of rejected cans in particular. And I'm sure you've sent it to me in the past, but let's make sure we have it fresh because they just ordered a bunch of new cans and I want to make sure ours get in there. So, and I hear you on the other bill too. It's taking them a while to get us the permanent version. So I've tried to hold back on weighing in on any of the specifics. But I'm always willing to hear out the mayor on these things. And that's why we have public hearings, so we can all dig into it. Thank you.
Commissioner Kinsick.
Congratulations, Commissioner. Nice to have you aboard. 1B06, love it. Thank you for being with us, Councilmember Nadeau. I like that you're talking about dangerous driving. I also would like to see something about dangerous bicyclists and be going the opposite ways and putting on headphones and just jumping in front of cars when we have green lights. So just as dangerous. And I want to make sure that's clear because we keep talking about driving. I know that there's been council members that have parked illegally in this room, and there's only one council member. So would that also affect the points on the license that you've been discussing in your recent discussions? Thank you.
The points are for dangerous driving, so that would impact any dangerous driver. Yep. I do think I want to make sure that we're always rooting our conversations in facts. So I think that it is certainly any road user should be using the road safely. And in any road user group, there are good actors and bad actors. But I think it's probably not true to say that cyclists behaving badly are just as dangerous as drivers, given that drivers have, many tons of metal under them and around them and can really, really harm people. So my hope is that we can all use the road safely. But these drivers of cars are my biggest concern right now because they are hurting people when they are driving recklessly and we need to be saving lives. So thank you.
A follow up with that. And I appreciate that. And that's why I've been on board with a lot of what Commissioner Lakatos has done, which I commend with putting a lot of these stop gaps for cars not driving around. But again, I understand, I know how heavy a car is and the tonnage. either way, we just don't want people getting hurt. So whether it be bicyclists or it be drivers or anything, people riding on those, ATVs, whatever it may be, if they were riding the opposite way, we'd have issues with that. I think no matter if it's 4 wheels, 2 wheels, they should all follow the law. That's it. Thank you.
We do have a question in the Q&A, and then we do have someone who has raised their hand. So first we'll get to the question in the Q&A. Do we have plans for the bill on counterfeit tags to address pricing for car emissions testing and registration?
That is not currently part of the bill. I think it's a slightly different challenge, but certainly something I'd be happy to talk more about in the future. And feel free to shoot me an email at bnadeau@dccouncil.gov if you have specific thoughts on that.
Thank you. And then Mr. Frank Chauvin has a question. Frank, you can take yourself off of mute.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Good evening, Brianne. 2 questions for you related to the moratorium for the 1900 block of 9th Street that this ANC approved and that you are supporting. We've been talking for about a year on emergency legislation, and you've said you'd look into it. We're at the point where there's some sort of holdup with the moratorium and its review by APCA. And so I'm asking, has your office completed a review of what emergency legislation would look like? Because if you assisted with enacting emergency legislation until the time that the APCA board rules on the moratorium, it would be very helpful to a neighborhood that is under siege. And so I appreciate your answer on that. And then I had one more just statement, and it's with respect to the same matter. It has to do with moratoriums. There seems to be a sort of a disconnect with the public dialogue on moratoriums. And people are taking, and I understand perhaps that you hold they aren't effective any longer and that they're dying out. And so I'd just like to say that that's untrue, and that Adams Morgan had a success with their recent moratorium. The APCA board supported the residents by the position they took and the position they ruled on. The BID and the ANC asked the APCA board to increase the number of taverns, and the board did not adopt an increase in taverns. They adopted only the matter of current licenses, which has been the same for 15 years. And so that moratorium that's been in process for 20 years is in fact a success and for the residents. And so I'd appreciate it if, that point regarding the Adams Morgan moratorium is sort of at least reviewed in terms of its success. And I appreciate your ear on that. And so I'd just go back to the first question.
That was a lot. Let me say this. Moratoria are very blunt instruments. And I believe that what helps neighborhoods succeed the most is the investments we make in them and the structures we build. Adams Morgan has a BID. Adams Morgan has safety ambassadors. Adams Morgan has a lot of resources that U Street doesn't have, and they have for many years. And that makes it easier for them to pivot when things are changing or where they need more resources. And that's why my big focus for U Street is bringing a community improvement district, and have put the beginnings of that into this year's budget through the performance parking zone, which will fund that. I'm very proud of that. I think that is a structure for our community that will outlast all of us as government officials, that will continue to make our community stronger. I support the moratorium for the 1900 block of 9th as a stopgap, as an interim measure while we get these other things in place, but I am not at this time considering emergency legislation. Thanks for the question.
Thank you. And we do have a question from the audience, Mr. Patrick Nelson.
I don't really have a question, more of a comment to the solid waste removal program. I think I've said this to you before, but I'll say it again. I signed up for that program and I am thrilled to death that it's working really efficiently. I've had no problems with them picking up the stuff where my trash I have problems with, and it has reduced my waste as a single person who lives by myself. I literally put out this much trash versus bags of trash before because I'm putting 90% of it into the solid waste thing. I think it's a program that really, if it doesn't go citywide, there's a real problem with why it doesn't. But it's as of now, I think being highly successful. And there's 4 people on my block that are doing it. So it definitely needs to get ramped up and hopefully be as successful as I think it'll be throughout the whole city. I was very leery at first. I thought it was going to fall flat on its face, but I think it's really something to take cheers to.
Well, if we don't have a ringing endorsement from Patrick Nelson, then what do we have? I'll make sure we get that in writing and get it to the DPW director. I'm glad you're having that experience. Thank you.
What a great comment. Commissioner Handrahan.
Thanks, Councilmember, for being here. I had just a tactical question and then pivot. Can you still sign up for the composting pilot in Ward 1 or all the slots?
We're locked in now. Yeah.
Okay.
But hopefully it'll be such a wild success that we'll be able to include you soon.
Love it. Okay. So my question is about the behavioral health supports for the T Street Task Force that you identified. Can you just remind folks when you think those will be online? I think there's like a procurement process and what they will bring that's different from what's happening there.
Great question. So this is a grant through the Department of Behavioral Health to a nonprofit. And the way we've tailored it, the nonprofit should be HIPS, which is already on the ground there doing what we call harm reduction for people with substance use disorder, specifically heroin users. And that money is now loaded into the budget, but we've been having trouble getting the Department of Behavioral Health to move quickly on the RFP. That look is the face of someone who's worked in the local government before. Any assistance you'd like to provide in pressuring them to get that out the door? Our committee chair, Councilmember Henderson, our at-large council member, has been pushing them. I've been pushing them. I've got a couple of grants tied up right now. The District Bridges grant that I mentioned earlier for U Street and Lower Georgia Avenue, which is actually not even a competitive grant. It's just a letter of understanding, is still not out the door. So we are very concerned. I am very concerned about that. Please add your voices to the Department of Behavioral Health asking for that. In addition to the money, I've been sort of pounding the pavement to try to find a private space for HIPS to do their work, to bring people inside, to give them that dignity, to provide meals and showers and counseling inside instead of just on the street. I've talked to a couple churches within a couple blocks, and I've talked to Howard about it, and HIPS has come with me and we've pitched the idea. And so we're hoping by the time the money loads, HIPS will have an agreement with one of those entities, because I think that'll help even sort of take us a step further. Columbia Heights is finally getting a sobering center, which could have been a huge help in moving some people forward over the past couple of years. But now that it's finally coming, I'm excited about it. This will be a temporary space for HIPS to use, but I think a really important one. So if you happen to know a private entity that would like to share some space, please let me know, because I'm taking all comers on that. Thank you.
Are there any other questions for the council member? And thank you for those of us who have joined in person. Commissioner Jones.
Thank you. Thank you, council member. Thank you especially for talking about the new temporary and the fraudulent and forged tags issue. I know it's been an issue for a while. I'm glad to see your office paying attention to it. One issue that has been frustrating some of my neighbors, I know that your staff are aware of this, is DPW staff claim that they are not able to identify when a tag is fraudulent. Specifically, a neighbor pointed out a fake, something that looked like a Tennessee license plate, but was made with bendable plastic, which I don't believe is how Tennessee issues their license plates.
I don't know, but I can check.
Yep. it's frustrating to our neighbors, and I know you know this and care about it, but it's frustrating to our neighbors when they get responses from 311 that make it feel like that the city is accusing them of lying, or like the city is playing dumb.
Yeah.
And that's what it feels like when you get answers like that.
Understood.
So I appreciate that you're paying attention to this issue, and I would love for DPW officers to be empowered to say that flexible plastic is not a Tennessee license plate, and that other fake plates are forgeries.
In the hearing yesterday, the director of DPW and I had a conversation about this exact thing. What constitutes an obviously fake tag? Some of this is a training issue, and some of this is about the legal definition.
Yeah.
And so with the bill, we'll work on the legal definition. Our partners will work on the training. We also noted his comments that he thinks the directory of license plates probably doesn't belong with them. That may be a DMV thing. Doesn't matter because the DMV director was there too. This is the point of having a joint hearing, is they can't pass the buck too far, just across the table, right? So we did get into that, and I think we learned some things from the hearing about how to tackle it.
Our online attendees.
Not sure if this has already been answered. The last meeting I attended here, and I've only just started attending these, there was questions about how many licenses were given and whether it was more than was, some rule had been not adhered to by the number of licenses, I think per, not per square foot, but something like that. And I just wondered, was there ever any feedback on that as to whether those rules had been breached? Sorry.
So that I think is still unclear. So that is something that would go through a mix of agencies. So it'd probably be zoning. It would also be Department of Buildings and maybe Department of, I always forget, licensing and
Consumer protection.
Consumer protection. So it's a mix. It's still up in the air. That's not something that it's not up in the air, Frank. Okay. Well, from my understanding, it's up in the air. We haven't gotten a firm answer on it. But I think it's out of the ANC's control.
So yeah, I think that's probably the arts overlay that you're talking about and the number of licenses permitted. And that's something the zoning commission and the ABC board have to take on, both of which are independent entities. But we both liaise with them, so we'll keep asking those questions. And I do think getting the community improvement district up and running here is going to help us with those kinds of challenges as well. So thank you, commissioners, very much. Frank already had a question. Why don't you walk me out if you have another one? Thank you, commissioners. I appreciate you having me here.
Thank you
tonight.
so much, council member. And I do see the question in the Q&A, but we will be sure to pass it along to the council member to answer. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this evening in person and online. This is our maybe third hybrid meeting, but first time using the wonderful equipment that OANC has provided us. Thank you to Director Bays for setting this all up and being here and joining us tonight. Just as a quick housekeeping note before I call this meeting to order, we have a hard stop at 8 p.m. So we will be moving along quickly. So if you have questions, please add it to the Q&A. If you would like to come off of mute, please make it quick as well. We will try our best to get to all of the questions and answer them. If we do not, we will follow up. But I call this meeting to order at 7:02 p.m. Thank you again for everyone joining us. Mr. Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Yes, thank you. Commissioner Handerhan. Present. Commissioner Holohan. Commissioner Sycamore let us know earlier that he would not be able to be here. Commissioner Lakatos.
Present.
Commissioner Kensick.
Present.
Commissioner Duramo.
Present.
Commissioner Fields.
Present.
Commissioner Harris.
Present.
And Commissioner Jones present. Madam Chair, with 8 out of 9 commissioners present, we have a quorum.
Great. Commissioners, before you, you have an agenda. Do we have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
I move that we approve tonight's agenda.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you. Commissioners, you also have a consent agenda before you with October draft meeting minutes. We also have a 2-minute comment time for commissioners and community members. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you. Reports and action items. Commissioner Lakatos, financial reports.
Yes, Commissioner Jones, would you be able to make me the host temporarily so that I can share my screen? Oh, thank you. No worries. So before you on the screen, you can see the FY23 Q4 ANC financial report. This reflects the allotment we received, $267, which was spent on our website subscription, $4,260 spent on sponsorships. So that is the Columbia Heights movie night we sponsored, as well as the Art All Night, as well as bank charges. And the other is a specific charge from the OANC. It's an adjustment to reconcile balances. Does anyone have any questions?
Sorry, I have a quick question about the adjustment to reconcile balances.
Yes.
What does that mean?
The quarterly financial report is managed on a very large Excel sheet. This was something that came from the OANC's financial person, and I'm assuming this is just a long standing reconciling of the balances. I have no better answer, unfortunately. We have all the money that we thought we had, and we did not spend new money. This is more just an accounting adjustment.
Thank you.
Are there any further questions?
Just, we could plan on allotting something for spring for 1B as a community. That'd be great. Earmarking it now. I know that I sent an email a couple of weeks ago, and Chair, you had said you were going to speak to Treasurer Lakatos. I didn't hear back. So let's hopefully aim for that for next year, early next year. Thank you.
That sounds good, Commissioner Kanzik. We have that in the budget. It's just a matter of, processing the planning and then spending. So it's already, it's allotted. We just have to, then do the process to plan and spend. That being said, can I make a motion? I'd like to move that the full ANC adopt the Q4 fiscal year 2023 quarterly financial report.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you. Next, zoning preservation and development, Commissioner Jones.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At our last meeting of the ZPD committee, we did not have any action items to vote on. There was extensive discussion with the occupants of 1901 3rd Street Northwest in LaDroit Park. That property is owned and managed by the Catholic Archdiocese of Washington. I know that some neighbors in LaDroit Park and beyond were interested in hearing about how that property is going to be used. If you are interested in that, please check the minutes from the last ZPD meeting. Those minutes from the October meeting are found in the agenda package on the ANC 1B website. Since we have nothing to vote on out of that, I return my time to the chair.
Commissioner Handrigan.
I just want to thank, as the SMD rep for LaDroit Park, I want to thank the committee for having that conversation. There was also a follow-up conversation at the LaDroit Park Civic Association last week in which the community was able to ask a number of questions. And I think it's a good example of the ANC sourcing issues of importance to the community and sending it back to other ways to get community input. So thank you.
Commissioner Jones, when is the next meeting?
That will be determined and updated on the website and the email list.
Thank you. I Economic Development, Commissioner Handerhan.
Hi, everyone. So thanks everyone who turned out to our October committee meeting. We did something different than we've done in the past, which was hold hybrid in-person and virtual meeting to discuss just one development project. It's the 1617 U Street redevelopment. It's a site owned by the district that is going through an upzoning process and will go through an RFP process as part of a disposition with the District of Columbia. So this is going to be familiar to some people through the similar conversations we've had around the Reeve Center, but this is the zoning discussion that's happening slightly before that. This committee has already expressed their support via resolution for the upzoning to MU10 of the site. The goal of this community meeting that we had was to get the community feedback about what they'd like to see at the site moving forward. You can see, regardless of what happens with zoning, the zoning hearing will be on November 20th at 4 p.m. In both the agenda and in the minutes from the meeting, you can see all the ways that you can testify, either by submitting written testimony or joining in real time. Would strongly encourage anyone who has thoughts on this project to do that. As a reminder, this is just the zoning question. This is the start of what will be a multi-year engagement process for the property. Right now, it's the so I think a couple things came up in this meeting that I thought would just be worth 30 seconds of discussion here. The first thing is that there's a real need in the community to get FAQs out to bust some of the myths around this site. For example, it's come up a lot about whether or not the existing police station and fire station at this site will be replaced. That will happen. But not everyone knows that. And there's some concerns about losing those community amenities. We also discussed the interest of the community to have a library at the site, which is still very much a live option. And it would be great if people testified talking about how much they would enjoy that, even though the zoning committee is going to be focused strictly on the zoning. What we're going to do coming out of it is host another conversation at our November meeting, which is Thursday, November 16th at 6:30. In the interim, we are putting together FAQs based on what we've heard from the community that we're going to run by DEMPED and the Office of Planning to make sure that we are clearing up questions the community has. And we're going to be sending an online version of the survey that we handed out at the meeting, which asks a number of questions such as, what would you like to see for different parts of the site? Talk to us about, what you're interested for uses, and really starting that community conversation around what the development will look like. We are open to another resolution to talk more about this, which doesn't speak to the zoning as much as the future uses. So if you're interested, we hope that you can join us at the November 16th meeting, which is always the third Thursday of the month. Happy to take any questions. There's nothing to vote on.
I think we do have a question, but before we get to that, I have a question about, you listed all those who wish to testify in this case are strongly encouraged to sign up at least 24 hours. And then the next bullet point, it says on the day of the hearing by 3 p.m. call 202-727-0789 to sign up to testify. Which is it? Because I've signed up before to testify and it was 24 hours. Or is there? Okay. So that's. Yeah, so if you wish to testify, you need to sign up 24 hours prior to the hearing. So it needs to be on November 19th before 4 p.m. And we can we can add in the email to the chat as to how to sign up to testify. I think it's really important for the community to voice either their concerns or positive remarks on this site. The other question I have for you, Commissioner Handerhan, is if the Economic Development Committee would be open to creating a survey about what the community would like to see in the RFP. Not only the meeting, which I think the meetings are super valuable, and I know they have been widely attended, but for those who cannot, because I think we're starting to get into the Thanksgiving holiday, maybe they could also do a survey and maybe give it a little bit more time and something we can vote on for a resolution in December.
Yep, we've already committed to a survey and it will go out. We have our copy survey that we're going to send out electronically before our meeting on the 16th.
Excellent, thank you. So we do have one question. Oh, sorry, Commissioner Fields.
So I know that we received an email from Arlene about party status, and I wasn't really sure what that meant, and I just wanted to know if you could like explain that or what that means for us as far as
I'm a little unclear on that. I don't think so. The ANC does not determine party status. That's up to the zoning commission. So I think I did see that email. I think that's for the zoning commission. You have, yeah, so
You have to notify the ANC.
what exactly is party status? I'm sorry. Okay, thank you.
So, and I don't believe it is a requirement to notify the ANC of this. If that was in some sort of literature that says that, I don't think that's accurate because we've had other cases and we haven't, been notified because it's not necessary. So I appreciate the community member doing that, but I don't think that was necessary because we're not the zoning commission. Okay, Commissioner Jones, if you can go ahead and promote, you can go ahead and take yourself off of mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Hello?
we can hear you.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, this is Arlene Fiskanich and quite a few of my neighbors and I have applied for party status for the November 20th hearing. And yes, it is part of the application process to certify that we have notified all parties involved in this hearing, this contested hearing. We had to, of course, notify the zoning commission and ANC 1B, ANC 2B, Office of Planning, and DEMPED. They were all on the list of places that we had to notify of our application for party status. So yes, I did send something to ANC 1B. And my question was, in an email, I got an email response saying that if your message is an official notice, delivery to this account is not considered an official notice to the correct commissioner. I was very confused by this auto reply because to me, I had to officially notify ANC 1B and I didn't know what this email was telling me. That wasn't an official notification.
So just to chime in really quickly, that is our autoresponder because we didn't have a admin helping us with our email. And so we wanted to make sure that anyone who emailed our office email knew that they could reach out to the individual commissioners. I do not think you need to notify the ANC, but you can,
I do need to notify the ANC.
This is enough notification and we all received the email that I believe you're good to go.
Okay, I'd appreciate an email back just to make from ANC 1B, just to confirm that you were notified.
I will email you back this evening.
Thank you very much. Because I need to know that I'm in compliance with the rules for party registering for party status.
This is also a publicly recorded meeting. So this also serves as that, but I will reply to your email this evening.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I also make one other note? The presentation that DEMPED gave at the meeting last week is posted on our website and will be posted on their website soon if they haven't done that. So you can go to the ANC 1B website under economic development to get information you might have missed at that meeting if you don't want to, listen to the recording or slog through a bunch of stuff. And the OP presentation will be posted as soon as it's provided to us.
Thank you. Commissioner Lakatos, Transportation.
Thank you. So the first resolution, if you give me one moment, I will share my screen, is regarding the installation of trash cans in ANC 1B, which I referenced earlier in my comments to council member, as well as requesting specific installations, giving ANC's great weight in support of said installations, asking for more frequent pickup in the U Street area, asking for a change in DPW's policy regarding what they consider a residential area as compared to mixed-use zones, such as ours, where we have nightlife zones abutting what are they technically consider residential blocks. So this resolution essentially just asks that DPW install cans in specific locations and revise that policy, along with exploring additional types of litter cans. Does anyone have any questions?
Do any commissioners have any questions or any community members?
I hope so.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the resolution?
I move that the full ANC adopt the resolution requesting installation and reinstallation of public litter cans as presented before us.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you.
The second resolution is regarding the 14th Street Bus Priority Project. This project has not kicked off yet. DDOT has indicated to me this project will likely begin planning next year. So this resolution specifically notes the conditions on 14th Street and asks that DDOT consider including in his design. This is not great weight for specific design, but consider in their design potentially including bus lanes, ADA loading zones, ADA parking zones, cargo or pickup drop-off zones, and as well as potentially modifying the bike lane to make it protected. This resolution just, as like I said, it's specifically requesting design inclusions at the starting point, the same way we did with our Florida Avenue resolution. It specifically also requests that DDOT come back to the community and provide those designs and receive community input before any final decisions are made. Does anyone have any questions?
I'm not seeing any. Do we have a motion?
I move that the full ANC adopt the 14th Street bus lane design request resolution as presented before you.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? I'm sorry, Commissioner Fields, were you voting? Okay, thank you. Sorry. That is, motion passes by 8 yeas, 0 nays, and 0 abstentions.
Thank you. The final resolution tonight is a follow-up resolution to the Florida Avenue 9th Street Sherman reconstruction project. For those of you familiar, this project took place in 2021 to 2022 from T Street to Berry Place. While there were a number of safety improvements included in the project, there are some sort of chaotic elements that still exist. So this is based off of some feedback we got from members of the committee, from the 930 Club, as well as just other residents in the area. And so basically this is requesting a number of tactical changes and providing the ANC's great weight on pending DDOT actions. I filed TSI requests for each of these. And basically what this would be is just asking DDOT to then consider the ANC's great weight and maybe making some of these changes. Some of these are sort of like adding flex posts, changing signage, changing turn signs. The situation is chaotic for a lot of people and it's very unsafe. Does anyone have any questions?
Yes, I have a question. Is this a draft? Because I'm seeing the certification at the bottom.
It is a draft, but my apologies. I need to change that specific. I can make the motion with that modification on it if that is appropriate. That's just left over from the Word doc.
Yeah. Just, I would say anytime you are putting things into, we want to make sure that it has the draft watermark so no one gets confused that it's not. And sorry that I just noticed that. So it might have been on other ones, but it's important that we fix that.
I appreciate that. I'll
Sorry.
make sure to make note of that in the future.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Okay, do we have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that the full ANC adopt the Florida Avenue Northwest reconstruction project follow-up resolution as presented before us.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 0 abstentions.
Thank you. The next Transportation Committee meeting is Monday, November 13th at 7 p.m. You can register on the ANC's website. If you're interested in joining the committee as a community member, we are looking for more members, so you can please reach out to me at 1B04@anc.dc.gov. Thank you.
Thank you. Alcohol beverage regulation, Commissioner Holohan.
Thanks. First up, we've got a new license. It's Salavi. It's 1901 9th Street Northwest. It's a retailer's Class C tavern. It's a new license, hours of operation Sunday through Thursday, 11 a.m. 2 a.m., Friday and Saturday, 11 a.m. to 3 a.m. Seeking endorsement for live entertainment and dancing. I imagine this will have several members of the audience providing commentary. So I'd like to open that up before we get into any kind of discussion.
Okay, if there are any questions on this from the audience, please raise your hand. I do see one. I think there are some community members here who might have questions, or I might be wrong. Frank, do you have a question? What? No, no. We are getting to discussion first. I will also note we need to be out of here by 8 p.m. So I don't want to cut anyone off, but you will have 2 minutes. And we are not the ABCA board. We do not approve. We do not issue any licenses. That is just a general reminder. We either vote to protest, to not protest, but I just wanted to remind you all that the ultimate decision makers are with ABCA. Thank you. Okay. Do you have, is it a question or a comment or motion? Yeah, we can take that, but I'd prefer if you ask now or raise any concerns, so then the commissioners can hear, and then we'll vote on the motion. So go ahead and go up to the mic. And Frank, you have 2 minutes.
2 minutes? Can you hear me? Tonight, you'll have a motion recommended by the alcohol ABR committee, the alcohol committee, ANC 1B alcohol committee, and it will ask this board to, it recommends to the board to approve a motion for protesting the Salavi license at 1901 9th Street Northwest on all applicable grounds, including safety, quiet, overconcentration, and a new one that this committee has never offered in my tenure. Proximity to a residential zone or lot. That's a new one for you. It's a pretty simple one. It's only allowable for new licenses. So we'd like your consideration on this. This license is applying within the moratorium zone that this entire ANC is fully aware and approved a moratorium zone within the 1900 block of 9th Street.
We voted to support. Not approve.
Approve. Thank you. Yes, of course. You voted to support. So in that measure, I hope that this ANC tonight approves the recommendation from the alcohol committee on all of the applicable grounds delineated. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I saw a couple more. So pick who wants to go first.
I don't have a whole lot to say. We really appreciated the ANC voting to support the moratorium. It seems entirely incongruous that you would do anything other than protest this, at the very least, until that moratorium has been fully considered and voted on. When we heard from Councilmember Nadeau at the meeting we had here about a month ago, we asked how long that moratorium would take, and we weren't able to get an answer. I don't know if we've gotten an answer since that point in time, but if this ANC agrees that the overconcentration of liquor licenses, the crime, the shootings, the murders that have happened as a direct result, or argue that if you want, of the overconcentration of nightclubs in the area requires the step of a moratorium, that we should approve liquor licenses while we are waiting for that step to be at least considered. I can't possibly understand that. So I hope that there's going to be unanimous support for protesting this, as there was unanimous support for supporting the moratorium last month. Thank you.
Just as a reminder, we do not approve or issue liquor licenses. I just want, you did, but at the end, but it's okay. I just want clarification because I know that there's some confusion from other community members or even online. So I just want to state that. Okay. Sir, if you're good. Okay. Okay, so I'm seeing some hands raised in the audience. So okay, wait, yes, sorry. I saw one go up and then go down, I think.
Hi, this is Chris Schreiber. I think I'm now live. I apologize.
Yes.
I could not be there in person, but appreciate that you made the virtual or a hybrid option possible. I want to thank the committee for supporting the motion or the moratorium request, and hope that you will support the protest of this license at this point in time, certainly until the moratorium has been voted on. And yes, I very much thank you for that.
Thank you. Do we have, okay.
Yes, one more online. Yes, Carter Denny.
Carter Denny, you can take yourself, I think you've already taken yourself off of mute, but we cannot hear you. I also see your question in the Q&A. Would you like to comment further? I'll give it a couple more seconds. You just put yourself on.
Sorry.
Oh.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Sorry about that. So yeah, I wanted to ask a question and then provide a comment. I was just wondering how many liquor licenses are currently in the 1900 block of 9th Street, where this one is the new one is being proposed. That was one question. And then just in my view, as a parent of a young child, as a physician, and somebody who's lived in Shaw for homeowner for almost 10 years, we just sold our house. We're leaving. We can't handle the chaos, the violence, and how much disruption there is every single weekend night. We clean up broken glass so that our child and our dog don't step on it when we get up every weekend morning. We have witnessed 2 murders, and we hear people fighting, screaming. We've witnessed a stabbing. So if you want people like us to be part of the neighborhood, I'm a community advocate. I work in public health. If you want people like us to stay, then I think you have to take a serious look at doing everything we can to promote a quieter neighborhood and a safer neighborhood. And one piece of that is supporting fewer liquor licenses. So I think that's my comment. And then I guess my question is if the ANC knows how many liquor licenses are currently present in that block where an additional one is proposed.
I am not sure the exact number. I believe it was in 21. I think before we commit to that number, we do want to do our research. I believe DCS came out with an article that did quote the number of licenses on kind of the proposed block. I will say, I don't think, I really appreciate your comments and I am very sorry to see you go. That is really unfortunate and not something that I think anyone wants. The ANC did vote unanimously to support the moratorium. So that is not something that we are rehashing here tonight. But we can certainly talk more about the new license in front of us if anyone has questions or also what the concerns are. And I did hear some of them already, so I'm not discounting those. Commissioner Lakatos.
Yeah, I just checked the article and it's 15 taverns and 1 nightclub.
So 16 in one block. Okay.
Okay. Commissioner Jones.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm wondering if Commissioner Holohan, I saw in the minutes that the owner and the representative joined to make a discussion and that there were questions from the panel members. Could you just, to the best of your recollection, could you characterize what the questions were and what the responses were?
There was some disagreement over the history of the establishment and what they were trying to accomplish. At first trying to file as a restaurant, then as a nightclub with a endorsement for entertainment. So that was most of the conversation that happened. As a reminder for folks who are both listening or in the room, we are not able to just protest until liquor license dies. What this does is just allows us to enter into a period of settlement agreement. I'm going to be asking our attorney to work with us on this piece. We have contracted with an attorney who's been helping us with such establishments like Flash. I'm going to be asking her to work with us on this piece as well. The only thing I'll say is that as this committee has voted for to support the moratorium, I would ask you all to join us in supporting this settlement agreement process as well.
Commissioner Holohan, do you feel confident that a settlement agreement can be reached here?
The owners and representatives of the establishment have already reached out to begin the process. Whether or not members of the community can be made satisfied with that, I'm not sure, but I would at least like the opportunity to try.
Yeah, I would also encourage community members. I know this also places the responsibility on you, but it does help call more attention to the matter to form either a group of 5 or protest as the neighborhood association. That does help the ANC. It just calls more attention to it. So if you have the capacity, and especially if you live nearby, that is also an option available to you all. Are there any further questions or comments related to Salavi? Commissioner Kinsick and then Commissioner Fields.
Yeah, I just want to comment that, Ms. Denny, I'm really empathetic to hear about you and your family. That's unacceptable. Seeing 2 deaths, this city has gotten out of control. And I do think that some of the mayor's proposals, although my colleagues may not agree, I think they do need to be a little bit reinforced. This has become a very dangerous time in DC, and I've only seen it get more dangerous in the 7 years I've been living here. Thank you.
Commissioner Fields.
Yes, I just wanted to ask about the one person who voted against the protest to Commissioner Holohan, and if you know why or if they explained.
I don't believe that was a vote against. I think that was an abstention.
Okay, thank you.
Correct, that was an abstention. That person did not explain why they voted the way they did.
Okay.
A reminder, abstentions are neither voting in favor or opposed, and they don't have to explain why they abstained. Are there any further comments or questions on Salavi? Commissioner Lakatos.
I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to move that the full ANC protest Salavi at 1901 9th Street Northwest on the grounds of peace, order, quiet, over concentration, residential parking in proximity of a tavern to a residential zone or lot.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 0 abstentions.
Thanks, committee. Second up is Shaw Howard Deli. This is located at 1911 7th Street Northwest. Retailers Class B Retail. This is a license renewal. I don't think I have to remind folks in this room that this was the deli that saw a murder outside of its establishment just a few months ago. It's also been cited as part of the problem that we're seeing at the 7th and T Street location. Additionally, this location has been reached out to by the Office of the Attorney General. They've been asked to implement security recommendations made by MPD. If this establishment does not come into compliance with this, the OAG will force them to do so. This is a problem establishment. This is another license that I will be asking our attorney to get involved with, because I see this going to be a pretty long, protracted battle. And again, I'd like to ask the committee to join with me in this protest. With that, I'll open up the room for questions or comments.
Commissioner Handrahan, and then I see yours, Frank.
We protest a lot of things here because we want to make sure that we have some leverage and engagement for settlement agreements, which is best practice, and sometimes feels weird because you want the businesses to succeed. And we spend a lot of time supporting businesses. This is a case of a business that should not be open, in my opinion. It used to be in my SMD. It's now in Commissioner Houlihan's. And I just cannot share enough about the bad things I've personally seen happen there and been told by MPD and others. So I think this is an example of, like, we have to take a strong stand. We have to throw any resources we have to convincing the district powers that be that this is not a business that should operate in its current form. So I just have never felt more strongly about a protest of a liquor license. Thank you.
Go ahead, Frank.
This afternoon, there was a T Street task force meeting, and this subject came up, and it had to do with the matter of sending a letter to the OAG on the matter of what happens at this location, not on the official record or the record. The ABRA record for the last several years is an incident that happened about 4 years ago, but there was a drug sale that took place in the location. It was set up by the police when they had the right to do that, or if they can still do that, I don't know, but they found it because this establishment just allows this loitering inside and outside with like an infestation of drug trafficking. And we see it. I've seen it personally in front of the location. So it's a bad actor, as Larry said. And today on the task force call, there's a letter going to the OAG, and we've asked that the letter be sent to the to be signed by the chief of police. It's that important. It's that important of a matter that this conversation be elevated after going around in circles for at least 5 years. And so it's a matter of great import to the neighborhood and that corner, 7th and T, which is a very problemed area. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Kinsick.
I'll be supporting this in favor, of course. I just to recollect, I believe Councilmember Nadeau's office, are they doing something with, making sure needles are passing out different things to help people that are addicted in that area? Is that correct? Thanks, Secretary.
There are community groups that engage in work like that, like HIPS and DBH. It's not our office. So yeah, I'm happy to follow up with more info on the groups that do provide that service.
And in fairness, the reason I ask that is because also when you're distributing in a location, you're obviously going to bring certain type of people that are on drugs. So again, I'm going to be in favor of this. Maybe we should look to maybe moving that area where we're supplying certain people. Thank you.
I'm not going to say anything. Commissioner Jones.
Thank you. It seems this is not a public health discussion. However, if it were, it would seem to me that distributing needles where people are using needles would be the most effective way to do that. Regardless of needle distribution, as some of my colleagues have recognized in the past several meetings, I have abstained from a number of protests because of concerns that I have with the use of the protest mechanism. For the same reasons that Commissioner Handerhan just listed in his statement earlier, if there is any time to use the protest mechanism, unfortunately, it was too late for at least one person associated with this location. So I will also be voting in favor of protesting the liquor license at this location. Thank you.
I'm going to mention something very quickly. So we need to be very careful about protesting and the use of talking about settlement agreements, only because there have been many attorneys who have tried to dismiss our protest because we only want to seek a settlement agreement. So I would caution commissioners trying to say that they're going to use this as leverage, when really this is a community agreement that we want to work with the establishment, no matter who they are, to make sure that we are all working and living harmoniously. So I would advise using that language because we've gotten in trouble in the past. Commissioner Lakatos.
I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to move that the full ANC protest Shaw Howard Deli at 1911 7th Street Northwest on the grounds of peace, order, quiet, and all applicable grounds.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 0 abstentions. Thank you.
I have to thank the committee for that. Next meeting is November 15th at 7 p.m. via Zoom.
Thank you. Public safety and community engagement, Commissioner Fields.
All right, so we didn't meet in October, but we did get some important updates from the OANC. I'm going to ask for permission to share my screen just so we can share those documents with people online. Yes. So here we go. This is a document presented by OANC that gives us just more guidelines on people that are applying for grants, sponsorships, and spending for public purposes. We're not going to read the whole thing, but of course, just going to highlight some of the top points. They gave about 5 guidelines. The first one, let me go back, being that ANCs cannot collect funds that are paying for food. I know that in the past we may have sponsored something that has to do with that. Here are some specific guidelines. ANCs are not permitted to solicit funds unless specifically authorized to do so by the council. ANC grants may not be used in support of fundraisers without similar authorization. Similarly, ANC grants cannot be used for purposes that duplicate government services, including upkeep, maintenance of district government facilities, as is the responsibility of the Department of General Services. And ANCs may not spend money on food or entertainment without specific legislative authority. This also means that ANCs may not give grants to neighborhood organizations to buy food, which is what we just covered. It also discusses public purpose and outline for ANC grants. The second is local benefit. A grant must benefit persons who work or reside in the commission area. The third is a proposed project. So a grant must be for something that is outlined and specific undertaking, not for just general support of an organization. So events and other things like that can be supported by us. It must go to an organization, not an individual or a government entity, although the organization does not need to be incorporated. We also look to sponsor nonprofits. And then the last point of clarification is for non-duplication. A grant must be for services that are not duplicative of any that are already performed by the district government. So this is just a quick outline. We're working to get that online right now with our administrative assistant, Cedric. So we look forward to doing that. This is the application that also gives a clearer outline of the guidelines permitted by OANC that's also going to be posted online. So you guys will have a clear description of that moving forward as you apply. I do want to take time really quickly to highlight the crimes report that was submitted by
And I'm so sorry, Commissioner Fields, I just want to chime in quickly about the grant guidance, and thank you for highlighting it because I think it's really important, especially as it relates to your community or your committee. But we do have Director Bays here who is the executive director for OANC. So one, thankful to have him for the hybrid meeting setup. But if there are any questions that commissioners have or that community members have, he is joining us. Sorry to put you on the spot this evening. So I will direct those questions to him after maybe the meeting is done. And we're also, commissioners, please reach out to him as well. Sorry, Commissioner Fields. Thank you.
No worries. Yeah, thank you for being here, and I'll definitely talk to you afterwards. So yeah, we have a good report on crime that we got from Police Officer Smith. There have been 0 homicides in the period between August 31st and October 29th. Unfortunately, 3 days before August 31st, there was a murder in our commission. So it's good to see that we haven't had any homicides since then. Sexual abuse or assault is down by negative 100%. But the violent total overall has gone up by 133% in specific areas that we'll highlight in the next page. There's a map that certainly shows where crimes are reoccurring. As you can see at the bottom, there are a couple addresses that have had issues with theft. So robbery is definitely considered a violent crime, and so that's why it says that that's gone up 133%. So compared to the prior 30-day period, which was prior to August 31st. And the crime categories which increased were robbery with a 250% increase. We went from just 2 robberies up to 7, and then a 25% increase in auto thefts. We went from 10 to 8, and then a 33% increase in theft, which was 21, and it went to 28 between August 31st and October 29th. Here's the map that was provided by Police Officer Smith. So it certainly shows at the bottom where, robberies were, burglary, theft, auto, and more motor vehicle theft. This will be emailed out if you guys are on the public safety and community engagement email chain. If you are looking to be added, please just drop your email in the chat and we can definitely add you there. Commissioner Lakatos?
Oh, I just had a clarifying question. Is this just for PSA 301 or is that the whole 3rd district? Because I'm based on the map. I'm just wondering if the stats are also from PSA 301.
I believe this is for the whole 3rd district, and I think the map just is highlighting the areas where it happened.
It says PSA 301 at the top.
Oh.
Yeah, I see that.
No worries. That
yeah.
wasn't a gotcha. It was just more I wanted.
No,
to make
I
sure.
got it.
Yeah. Sorry. Thank you for highlighting all this, Commissioner Fields.
Yeah, I'll follow up too to make sure that it's for all of the 3rd district, but I do see that it says PSA 301 at the top. So yeah, that's our crime report for tonight. And then lastly, we have the Howard Manor affordable apartment housing announcement. They did not reschedule, so we don't have any updates on that. But Howard University, again, is partnering with Amazon to do some affordable housing, and they're looking to share an announcement soon. So yeah, and then lastly, we had just wanted to highlight some questions that people had from DMPED or about DMPED and what's going on at 1617 U Street. Working with Commissioner Handerhan and Commissioner Kinsick to just sort of get out an FAQ, but I did just want to share and highlight again that the zoning committee will meet virtually on Monday, November 20th at 4 p.m. To discuss 1617 U Street. People are able to testify in this case and can sign up 24 hours before. I'm going to drop the link where they can in the chat. And you can also participate orally. You can log on at 3 p.m. and, share what's going on or your opinion on what's happening or what zone you think it should be. Right now, the request is for it to be moved site to be moved from an MU4 to an MU10. I did just want to highlight one myth that I think has been spread a lot, which is that if it's an MU10, it will become a 10-story apartment building. If it is upzoned, there is no confirmation that that would happen. There's still a huge community engagement process. It's great to attend the monthly economic development meetings on the 3rd Thursday of the month at 6:30 p.m. where you can share your opinions. The RFP, which is the request for proposals, will issue more guidelines from the city. And so there's a huge process and more discussion to be had. So please, if you're hearing that, if neighbors are sharing that, please make sure you're correcting that information and letting people know that they still have a chance to give input and share great weight under their ANCs. So that's all for us. Our next meeting is going to be November 7th at 7 p.m. via Zoom. That's this next upcoming Tuesday. So thank you guys. And yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner Fields. We have nothing under administrative, but congrats again to Commissioner Duramo. Oh, sorry. Frank, go ahead. You got 2 minutes. We're at 7:52. We got to be out here soon.
Thank you. I have to comment here on public safety. 34 years ago, the arts overlay was instituted for 14th Street, U Street. It was supposed to promote safety. All right. So you understand how the physical environment promotes safety, and each committee chair here is part of that process. What is your contribution to the safety discussion going on here in the corridor? Because to me, it should be happening in zoning. How are we allowing zoning, which has failed us for 34 years? Because 34 years ago, it was supposed to promote safety by promoting 18-hour pedestrian traffic in these corridors. And instead, it's late night pedestrian traffic only. So I'm asking, and my neighbors are asking, how is this committee contributing to the conversation and opposing the DC crime cards, crimecards.dc.gov, that perfectly show these very highlighted spaces of down U Street being the most violent for the last year, being the most property crimes, most violent crimes and most property crimes. What are we doing? What is each committee here tonight doing in their committee to respond to the crime crisis? Because it takes all of us, and it happens with it throughout the committee structure and not just a public safety committee. Thank you for hearing my comment.
Thank you, Frank, for that. I'm not going to put each committee chair on the spot. I think I can speak to it, but I think everyone is very aware of the safety issues along U Street. Most of us we have to live in the area. Most of us have seen the violence that has happened, whether we've had bullets in our home or in our buildings, or we have had friends and family die. So I think we are very aware, and we are doing everything that we can in positive ways. We can look at the Reeves Center. So this commission, and even commissioners prior, spent a lot of time on the resolution for the Reeves Center, which you also spent a lot of time on, Frank, to make sure that it included a large, diverse amount of businesses, and which conform to the arts overlay, which wasn't necessarily about safety, but it was about diversifying the arts in this area. So I'm not going to put everyone on the spot. We don't have a lot of time. If you would like to make it quick, you can. I am seeing something in the Q&A. Commissioner Field, someone wants to be added to the list.
Yes.
Commissioner Lakatos, please make it quick.
Are we on commissioner announcements as well? Point of order. Are we on commissioner announcements as well?
No, we're still under public safety and community engagement.
Yeah, I did want to follow up with Frank's question, and I really do appreciate it. I, more than anyone, am tracking the DC crime cards. We know that there's been 228 homicides in the district as of, I think, October 31st. And our committee is definitely doing a lot to work to make sure that not just ANC 1B, but all ANCs are meeting. We recently had a meeting, I believe it was the month before October, with the OAG. We invited Councilwoman Brooke Pinto. She did not show. And we also invited the police chief, Pamela Smith, who did not come, but she did invite our direct police chief over the 3rd district, who came and spoke and shared information on what ANCs can be doing specifically to drive down crime in their area. And so some of the things we've done are meeting with different constituents in the area and providing resources. I did want to highlight that this next upcoming Wednesday, there's a job fair on October 8th that people can go to start working and start providing resources for their community. We are working with Cardoza to make sure that they're getting mentors to students who are committing crimes in the area. That's something that we're doing proactively. And in addition to that, I also wanted to share that in the resolution that happened for 1617 U Street, I was an advocate to make sure that city services are there at that site. It's important to make sure that we have a public park there. I advocated for making sure we have a city service, as we know that with the Reeves Center, we are going to be losing a lot of that in this area. And, a lot more work is to be done. We're going to continue meeting as a full citywide ANC to make sure that we're discussing crime. And I hope that you attend some of those meetings, because I have not seen you there. I would appreciate it if you reached out a bit more and we could have those conversations and fulfill, healthy proposals as to what can be done to improve this area. We did vote in favor of the moratorium and supporting that, just to clarify. So I thank you so much for that. And I look forward to seeing you at the next ANC meeting.
Thank you. Commissioner Handerhan, please, quickly.
Frank, I think you're right. I think it's a fair question for all the committee chairs. So for economic development, I think there's two areas. The first is the vacant and blighted properties work that we've done that led to resolution this summer, and then the ongoing need to have some sort of space management entity, a bid or a SID, because they have a very large role in addressing these issues. So those are two things we're focused on.
Frank, did that answer your question? I wasn't sure if you heard Commissioner Fields or. Thank you. Okay, administrative, nothing. Executive council member, commissioner, and community announcements. Nicole, do you have any updates for Office of the Mayor? Is Gerard online? Okay. Commissioner announcements. Commissioner Jones.
Thank you. Several of the neighbors who elected me in ANC single member district 1B09 have had some specific questions about public safety and crime in our area. In response to those specific concerns, I've reached out to MPD and we'll be doing a walkthrough with Lieutenant LaSwan Washington starting at about 10:30 a.m. on Saturday. That's this Saturday, the 4th. Starting at 13th and Clifton Street at the corner at Cardozo Education Campus. I'm not sure exactly how long it'll go. It'll mostly be focused in the area north of Cardozo Education Campus, but we may wander off into other directions as well. If you live in that part of our neighborhood and have specific concerns about crime and safety, please consider attending. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Jones. Commissioner Lakatos.
Thank you. I have a brief update that I forgot to include in transportation. For all of you that are not aware, DDOT is currently undergoing the Florida Avenue Bus Priority Project, which runs from 1st Street Northeast at Dave Thomas Circle to 9th Street Northwest here. It's going to link up with the U Street project. There's a public meeting for that next Tuesday, November 7th at 6 p.m. It's a virtual meeting. I will have them send the link in the chat. I would encourage anyone interested to attend.
Commissioner Kinsick.
Yeah, I'm working with a couple constituents. I'm also going to ask Commissioner Fields to join with this to do like an actual trash garbage pickup soon. So we're looking forward to doing that and cleaning up our neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Community announcements. I am not seeing any unless I'm missing something. Can someone please? Okay, please take them off of mute.
Good evening. Hi, my name is Stephanie Bueno. I am from the office of Congresswoman Norton. Our office, the district office, is starting to attend ANC meetings and providing more information. The Congresswoman will be hosting a town hall for small businesses about the SBA 8A rule change. For those who are interested, we usually send events to the ANC commissioners who then send it to you all. Also, reminder that the district office is open to all DC residents who need federal agency assistance. And I will also provide my email and the phone number in the chat.
Thank you, and we'll be sure to share that out. Are there any other community announcements? Seeing none, new business. Commissioner Jones.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move that the ANC approve a letter related to special elections to fill the vacancy of ANC seats.
Can you provide a little bit more context? I know we're trying to move along, but
Sure.
I think there
wasn't
needs
sure
to be
whether you wanted
more.
me to have that seconded
Yes,
first.
because I'm sure there are people who have no idea what you're talking about.
As some of us may know, as our colleague, Mr. DeRamos especially knows, ANC 1B held a special election to fill a vacancy that was in 1B06, which is the area around and east of Malcolm X and Meridian Hill Park. I'm extremely grateful, and we all are, for assistance from the Office of ANCs in performing that election, and it was performed according to the law. Regardless of that, there were significant limitations with how elections were held. There was no mail-in voting allowed. There was no absentee voting allowed. There was no early voting allowed. It was frankly difficult to hold the election because the responsibility was on the commission and on the Office of ANCs, whereas for every other type of election that that DC holds, the Board of Elections administers those elections. The letter asks chairs Anita Bonds of the Committee on Executive Administration and Labor, overseeing the Board of Elections, and Councilmember Robert White Jr., the chairperson of the Council's Committee on Housing, which oversees the Office of ANCs, to consider moving the responsibility of holding special elections for ANC vacancies to the DC Board of Elections to allow greater access for voters in these types of elections. Specific groups that are disproportionately impacted by the way that we currently hold ANC special elections include active service military, who are categorically disenfranchised because they're not able to show up, as well as other people who are not categorically but disproportionately disenfranchised. People who have caretaking duties, people who have work on weekends, people who are out of town, and people who have limitations to their mobility. For all those reasons, the ANC special election should be held by the professionals, the DC Board of Elections. I'm grateful for all the work that the Office of ANC has done in the meantime. This should never have been their job, and I look forward to it not being their job one day.
Very quickly, are there any questions? Commissioner Shirama.
Would you be amenable to circulating the letter so we can
Yes,
read it?
I apologize that you did not until this moment have an email address that I could circulate.
I will
it
not
to.
until tomorrow, but
There we go. If
I actually have one question, Commissioner Jones. Would you be willing to also circulate this to the ANCs that have had recent vacancies in special elections, that they can also potentially sign on to this letter or pass something similar in their commissions?
Yes, so at the end of the letter, and Commissioner Duramo, I apologize for you not being able to see this earlier. I'm going to ask that ANC 1B authorize me and Chair Harris to represent the full commission on this topic, and to authorize me and Chair Harris to collect additional signatures from current and former commissioners in support of this letter. And Commissioner, I understand if you need to abstain from this vote, having not seen the letter.
does it make specific reference to this election, or is? I suppose either way, I wonder if you'd be amenable to waiting until next month to allow for specific input relating to the election we just held.
My preference would be to pass it now so that we can start collecting these signatures. But if you have strong feelings, I understand.
And I'm going to second him on the strong feelings. So I think we should probably hold off. Thank you.
I don't believe we should hold off. So if there's a motion, we can feel free to move forward. There is also the option, Commissioner Jones, to circulate this without having the ANC approval, and then commissioners can sign on to the letter or not.
I'm not sure if it's available. I'm able to make a comment at this point, but given Commissioner Dramo's recent joining of the board, and considering this is literally what he does for a living, I would just hope that perhaps the commission would allow his input. There's no room for him to currently chair a commission or a subcommittee. I just think this would be a really great way for him to get started with ANC 1B.
Madam Chair, I rescind my motion.
You didn't have a motion.
I did motion and you did not allow anyone to second it.
Sorry. Okay. Are there any further community comments or any other commissioner comments? Hearing none, I will adjourn this meeting at 8:07 p.m. Thank you everyone for joining us, and we'll see you in next month.